Hey guys, according to Radar Online, Al Roker was rushed to the hospital 24 hours after being released. He had to be rushed right back to the hospital, folks. So, the story that was put out by BET News is that the broadcaster is fighting blood clots in his legs, which I guess some of them or one of them migrated to the lung area. So he went to the hospital on Thanksgiving Day, was released, and had to go right back the following day for the same issue. And the 68-year-old had been readmitted. So, according to page 6, Roker was rushed back to the hospital less than 24 hours later on November the 25th. And the day after Thanksgiving, his condition did improve when he was under hospital care. A source told People magazine that Roker had to go back to the hospital in an ambulance and that Roker's wife, Deborah Roberts, was locked out of her car and couldn't get into it. The car malfunctioned and she couldn't get her phone or any of her belongings. So Roker missed this year's Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade because we all know that he's usually one of the host guests for that parade. But can you imagine how distressing that was for not only Al Roker, but his wife, who was locked out of her car and everything was in her car? Oh my goodness, I could not even imagine the horror of it all. I think in a situation like that, I would have shattered the car window. I would have gotten a hammer or something to strike that window to break it. So as far as I know, guys, Al Roker is still in the hospital. We are praying for him. We are wishing him a speedy recovery. So it's been reported that in 27 years, he has not missed attending the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And of course, this year he had to miss it because of the blood clots that he's suffering in his legs. That's what he reported on November 18th, that he had blood clots in his legs and also caused clottings in his lungs. This is serious, folks, because these clots move to the lungs. And I know some of you know, if you have clots to your leg, they can become active and relocate, migrate through the blood system to various parts of the body. And if they go to the lung, then you can't breathe properly and you may have other complications going on. So according to Wikipedia, a pulmonary embolism is what Al Roker has. This occurs when a blood clot gets stuck in an artery or in the lung, blocking blood flow to part of the lung. Blood clots most often start in the legs and travel up to the right side of the heart and into the lungs. And this is called deep vein thrombosis, DVT. This is what Al Roker has. And it's a very, very serious situation, folks. And this information is according to the Mayo Clinic. I just wanted to pass on a little bit about what pulmonary embolism, or PE, is. So Al Roker have a pulmonary embolism, which is also known as PE in the medical profession, and it can cause a lack of blood flow that leads to lung tissue damage. It can cause low blood oxygen, because if you're not getting any blood flow or a lack of blood flow, meaning a little amount of blood flow, an inadequate amount of blood flow will lead to you not breathing properly. So the low blood oxygen level, it can damage organs in the body, particularly if it's a large pulmonary embolism, if it's a large blood clot that broke off and traveled to the lung tissue. It can quickly be very, very serious, very life-threatening, and it can even lead to death. So Al Roker is really very fortunate to have made it to the hospital where he can have proper care. So Al Roker is going to be on blood thinners. According to the Mayo Clinic, the protocol for pulmonary embolism is to put a person on blood thinners. Prompt treatment to break up clots that greatly reduces the risk of death, according to the Mayo Clinic. And this can be done with blood thinners and drugs or other procedures. Now, he says he has the clots in the legs, so according to the Mayo Clinic, compressor stockings and physical activity can help prevent clots from forming in the first place. But since he has these clots now, he's going to be wearing compressor stockings and he's going to be on blood thinners. So again, speedy recovery to Al Roker. And we have to keep him in our prayers, folks, that this condition does not worsen. So this is just additional information about pulmonary embolism, or PE. So how can a blood clot lead to organ failure? Well, according to Wikipedia, if a clot in an artery breaks free and travels through the circulatory system via the blood, it can cause blockages affecting the heart, lungs, and other organs, potentially shutting down your system. So the organ that is most affected by PE, pulmonary embolism, is the lungs. So if the clots are small, with appropriate treatment, people can recover from PE. However, there could be some damage to the lungs. And you see people after PE, pulmonary embolism, they may start using an inhaler to breathe properly if there is damage to the lungs. Folks, all this information is from the Mayo Clinic. And it says here in this article, the most common place for a blood clot is in the lower leg. And this is why people are told not to cross their legs, because you cause blockage by crossing your legs. The blood is not flowing as easily, and you can get a clot just by crossing your legs. Most people don't know they have clots, and so most of the time you're going to have this sudden onset of not being able to breathe and all the symptoms that comes with PE, where you have to be rushed to the hospital. And for some people, they have long-term complications where they cannot breathe properly, and they have exercise intolerance where they can't even exercise because they're so short of breath. Some of the symptoms are back pain. This is if you have a clot in your lungs. The Mayo Clinic says back pain is common with blood clots in the lungs, such as pulmonary embolism. It also says you feel the pain more if you're taking deep breaths or you're coughing. Back pain is also common. So folks, any activity really that involves the lungs, if you got to breathe, you're coughing, the lungs is sitting in an area where it involves the chest, the back, and just all that activity of just breathing. So your back, your sides may be involved. And so if you have this type of symptoms and you're having leg pain, you go to your doctor, you go check it out, or go to the ER. So with the lung involved, of course, you're going to have shortness of breath and pain in the chest area, either the back or the side or the front. You're going to feel that pain, probably a stabbing pain. So you go check it out. And so we're wishing Al Roker all the best with his recovery.